思为业，放心当下。黑子不落地，向生命历历，虚空换随。Hey everybody, and Happy New Year to you all. 大家好，新年快乐。My name is Heng. Today is Saturday, January the 6th. We are here at the Gold Coast Dharma Realm to look into the picture biography of Master Empty Cloud. 今天是星期六正月初六，在澳大利亚。In California, it is January the 5th, and glad that you're here with us. 如果你们大家想听中文一种流利的翻译呢，你的软体的控制板的右下角有个小地球 interpretation， 就那里都有一种主流的正常的一个很好听的普通话的翻译。Okay, also in our chat box, if you look on the chat box and you would like to hear Vietnamese translation, you will find a link where you can click on that and there will be a translation into Vietnamese for you. Also, should you care to request the Dharma in the future, as our tireless and fearless coordinator Chen Yu is about to do, there's a link, an email address. You can send an email and request Dharma in the future. Now you can do one language or both languages. We're happy to accommodate you. All right, so we'll put that away, and up comes our Dharma request software. I'm going to, first of all, ring the bell 3 times and invite you all to join me in making 3 half bows to the Buddha from where you're sitting. And then after that, we'll ask Chen Yu to be our Dharma requester. Okay, 那我们现在礼佛三问讯礼，来。First bow. Second bow. And third bow. Okay, Chen Yu, if you would like to request Dharma, please do so now.
阿弥陀佛。恭请大德僧听，为此法会，济一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshe.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Now, Shifu Shangren, Gui Shishung, Amitofo, Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome. Come on in. Today it is a Happy New Year to all of you. 新年快乐. Hope all is well where you are. If you are in a place where all is well, what a blessing. We hope that by looking into Master Empty Cloud's biography, we will be even better. We'll be well plus. Today, our Dharma requester is in Hawaii, which is amazing because our translator is in Sydney, which is amazing because your Dharma speaker is in the Gold Coast of Queensland and our Vietnamese translator is in the Bay Area of San Francisco. So how wonderful to make this a global event. Because I'm here in the Gold Coast, I want to respectfully acknowledge the Kombu-Meri people of the Ugambi language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where this monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people, no matter where they are, whose sovereignty was never ceded, but was simply stolen from them. 我们恭敬地承认与冈北语族的贡布马里人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从未放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Good. Moving on to our bell song. This is our concluding protocol for our lecture. Here we go. The bells sound wide, resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's lies heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000界内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他诺后德。Excellent that we're all together. Thank you all for joining. Glad that you're here. Today is a really special episode of Master Empty Cloud's picture biography because it's about a sacred space. And it's a sacred space that was very important to him later on in his life. So it comes up again in his long 120-year life. We're going to hear more about Aiyuan Se, King Ashoka Monastery. But before we get there, I wanted to see who is here with us. Our Dharma host today is in Honolulu, Hawaii. Let's see, our translator is down on the Gold Coast. Ihuan is here from City of 10,000 Buddhas, Ukiah. Sung is here from Vancouver, British Columbia. Bill is here in Cascade, Colorado. Brenda in San Leandro. Brian is here in Campbell. Welcome, Brian. Have fun tomorrow at the, I guess, Sunday, Gold Coast Dharma Realm. There at Redwood Vihara. Celeste is here from Hong Kong. Christopher from Bainbridge Island. Hi, Christopher. Welcome. Glad you could make it. Cliff is here in Yangzhou. That's good. Listening in from Shandong. Connie is here. Oh, Connie's in San Diego. Cynthia is here from Saratoga. She'll be there in Redwood Vihara on Sunday as well. Duke Levan is here from Montreal, from Quebec. Let's see here. Henry is with us in Gohong. Jensen from Jakarta. Jerry from Fremont. Let's see here. Johan. I don't know where Johan is located. Waterloo, Canada, in Ontario. Leah is here. Let's see here. Louis and Christine in LA. Okay, glad you're with us. Liz is here from New York City. Lloyd from Singapore. Mai in the Bay Area. Let's see Guan is here from Alameda. Mai from San Jose. Hi, Mai. Glad you're here. Paul from Pinole. Peggy from Calgary. Ron from San Jose. Sylvia from Seattle. Valerie from Ukiah. Willie is here in Virginia. Yang Liu in Ukiah. YC is here from Ukiah as well. Miss Dung from Vancouver. Okay. Let's see. Miss Cho from Taipei. Mr. Yu from Beijing. 还有朋友从黑龙江 from 杭州 还有什么地方？辽宁 黑龙江 蓝海 有的人呢是靠近宁波，今天都对于宁波，黑龙江苏州、陕西、福建很多地方，北京Ohio 并不在中国哈。Okay, I wonder where in Ohio. That's where I'm from, actually. 河北唐山、江苏，还有呢，就像南京、北京、南海、上海，济南，上海、黑龙江。Okay, good. All right. Well, we have made the point that we are truly from all around the planet. Welcome. Glad to see everybody. Glad that you're here today. All right. I talked about sacred space and what we're about. This is a series based on a book that was compiled by our teacher, our founder, Master Xuyun Lecture. And he wrote the book, he compiled the episodes of a man who lived to be 120 years old, Master Empty Cloud, his teacher, our grand teacher. And he, some years are more eventful than others, so there are more episodes out of one particular year. Sometimes he goes 2 and 3 years with nothing particular going on. The stories in the book that we're working with, there are 200 stories. When you have 120 years of a lifespan to go for, to work from, you've got a lot of stories to choose from. So our teacher selected these stories, edited them down. And we're now in the very first quarter of the monk's life. He's only 36, and he's got 3/4 of his life to go, roughly. So what has happened is he's become a monk. He went on a pilgrimage, and he traveled down to a place in the South China Sea called Putoshan, Potola Mountain. And it's interesting because it's an island. In fact, it's 2 islands off the coast of the South China Sea. To get there, you have to ride a ferry boat. It's an overnight ferry trip from the mainland. And people go generally from Shanghai, or they go from Ningbo, 2 cities. Shanghai is further south, and Ningbo is in the province called Zhejiang province. And this double island called Putoshan is a storied island, fabled island. Here in Australia we say legendary. This is a place of legend, right? Indeed, because there's a bodhisattva there whose name is Guan Yin, the compassionate being of great compassion. Guan Yin Bodhisattva is feminine. She's a woman in her most familiar incarnation. And the thing about Putoshan is that Guan Yin shows up. We talk, bodhisattvas at that level are sort of like, if you're more familiar with Catholic saints, they're kind of there, and if you believe in them, they're more there, but many people would go, yeah, superstition, show me a saint. Did you meet one? What kind of accent do they speak with? What skin color? What are they married? Are they skeptical? People are skeptical unless they're believers, in which case, big God, it's a miracle, Everything you've heard about it must be true. So people, when it comes to spiritual beings, have, pretty much two different categories, believers and non-believers. Because why? There's no evidence. There's no scientific proof of this saint or that bodhisattva until you get to Putoshan and Guanyin Bodhisattva, who has this habit of showing up right out of the legends, right out of the mythology, and not only showing up, but helping you out. And these stories about Guanyin Bodhisattva showing up at Putoshan just in the nick of time to save people from troubles, they fill a book. There are so many stories. It's happened to, famously, to Sun Yat-sen, Sun Zhongshan, the father of modern, claimed both by the Chinese in the mainland and also the Chinese in Taiwan. He had a miracle encounter with Guanyin Bodhisattva, which he absolutely says did happen. There are generals of warring armies who meet Guanyin Bodhisattva. There are children who see Guanyin in their dreams, and then they wake up and Guanyin is standing at the foot of the bed. And there are public health nurses in San Francisco, California, who saw Guanyin Bodhisattva appear as she was giving birth, and all the pain went away, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is a place of incredible pilgrimage. Lots of pilgrims who are particularly in need go to Putoshan, Potala Island. Sometimes it's not that they're needy, they just go because they want to thank Guanyin for lending a hand when it counted the most. So that's where our pilgrim, our story, the hero of our biography, traveled. So there he was. Last week we lectured because we were out of power last week. Interestingly enough, our electricity was down for 6 days because an actual tornado tore through southeastern Queensland here. So we had to travel to Reedy Creek, to a place where the electricity was already back on. And the stories we told last week were two amazing events that happened to Master Empty Cloud, our pilgrim, our hero, on Putoshan. So this week, his story at Putoshan has come to an end, and he has returned to the mainland. He's come back, and he returned to Ningbo in Zhejiang province. He's returned to a place called Ayuwangsi, King Ashoka Temple. And I think what I'll do, he is now 37 years old. It's 1876. And I think I'm going to feed you the photos first because we've got pictures. If you have a drone or if you want to look at the bird's eye view, this is what King Ashoka Temple looks like nowadays. Most of the rebuilding is done. I have been there personally 3 times over the years. First time was 1989, 1990. And it was just barely out of the Cultural Revolution. It did not look that way. It didn't look as nice as it does now. Take a look. Nice looking. This is the Dashong Baodian. This is the Hall of Great Heroes as you come up. It has been really well rebuilt because the current abbot is a very capable man who is both a cultivator and also skillful politically. So he knew who to talk to. This is, I want to give you a little, my knowledge of King Ashoka Temple, because having been there 3 times, we got some of the inside scoop. And what you're looking at is a liberating life pond. And one of the issues is that now King Ashoka Temple was established when? 272. Yes, you heard that right. The year 272. It's been there for how many? Let's do the math, right? 1,700 plus years. This monastery has been sacred space. So the problem was when it was set up, the di li, the feng shui, changed. And at some point, one of the consultants said, you need more water. So when you come in King Ashoka Temple, the first thing you see, now I have to say they've changed it not long ago, but you see this liberating life pool because according to the feng shui, they needed more water in the front. So they engineered this pond, and this is where if they buy fish or turtles or frogs or aquatic creatures, they buy them back from the market and then give them another life here in the pond. So, and there are miracle stories about the pond. We don't have time to do all of these, but that's since there have been public work projects, including freeways and factories that were built during the time of political turmoil. As a result, they had to change the main entry to King Ashoka Temple, not necessarily according to feng shui. So here's another one of the gates. You can see it's a blend of traditional, super traditional Chinese temple architecture plus contemporary reconstruction, which they did a beautiful job of restoring these buildings. This is the entrance to the Sharira Hall, and that has a big function in today's story. Sharira mean relics, and this is another, you go deep into Buddhist belief to understand. This is the Dharma Hall. Master Empty Cloud definitely walked up those stairs at some point to hear the Dharma because he took up residence at King Ashoka Temple. This is the drum tower. It really has that atmosphere, right? You just feel like you've stepped into another era, a kind of a timeless time. And anything that's been around intact for 1,700 plus years has got lots of history coming and going. This is a stupa, a relic tower that you can't go in any longer because it's very fragile. But this was built, I guess 800, 900 years ago, and they decided to try to keep it instead of tearing it down because it's going to fall over. But meanwhile, there has been a second stupa built. Okay, now, with that in mind, you kind of have a sense of the lay of the land. Here's our story. Here we go. Ready? Now, we don't have to put our palms together. This is not a sutra, so let me just read it for you. I'll go ahead and read both the Chinese and English. Here we go. 朝蒲头镜回宁波，经阿育王寺，备火时3元1月，拜舍利两藏，用报父母亲屈老之恩。相传玉王所供舍利，乃释迦牟尼佛之真身，故人多发愿拜舍利，至天童寺听讲楞严精通，必离去。After the pilgrimage to Puto Mountain, the master returned to Ningbo, where he passed through King Ashoka Temple. He arranged for provisions at a cost of 3 yuan per month. 现在多少？人民币3元，有没谁？应该如果是现在的，不到五毛。 三个人民币应该现在是多少？Okay, so probably what, 25 cents, something like that. So yeah, so very cheap provisions for a monk there. Now, he bowed to the Sharira relics over 10,000 times to repay the kindness of his parents and their toil on his behalf. The Sharira enshrined by King Ashoka are reputed to be those of the true body of Shakyamuni Buddha. Therefore, many people came to make vows and bow before the relics. The master went on to Tiantong Monastery after hearing an exposition of the analytical commentary on the Shurangama Sutra, continued on his way. Now, what is going on? There's lots of technical language here to get a sense of what's going on. Let's take a look at the picture that Master Hua commissioned for each of these stories. All right, now look, there's this strange structure here in the center. It's a temple. There's incense burning. He's on the floor. He's indoors on a cushion, and he's kneeling in the picture. So the picture has him halfway through a bow. These bows that anybody who has been to our tradition knows how we bow. We do what are called the 5-point bows: knees, hands, and head. Theravada bows bow from the knees. Tibetan bows bow the full body prostration. So we're somewhere in between. And this is an artist's conception of what a Sharira pagoda looks like. It's very interesting. The story goes like this, and I'll put this aside briefly. In order to understand what's going on, we have to know what are Sharira, and why would he bow, and how come 10,000 bows? What does that have to do with repaying kindness, and why would people come to bow and make vows there for that? So there's been a tradition in the Buddhist world from the earliest times that at death, what do you do with the body? And the Buddhist answer is cremation. We don't bury, we return the body to ashes, and then sometimes you can put the ashes on an altar, keep with your ancestors, an ancestral altar. You can scatter them, it's up to people. So what they discovered early on from the Buddhist time forward was among the ashes, if the person has lived a virtuous life, you will find things that look like jewels among the ashes. They look like stones, they look like the size of BBs or even bigger. Some are crystalline, some are green, red, blue. Sometimes there are parts of the body that didn't burn at all, like the teeth, for example. So these are called sharira, which is a Sanskrit word. In English, we say relics. Now, is there any equivalent among European, Middle Eastern religions? Absolutely, relics of the cross. There's the Shroud of Turin, which is said to be the shroud that covered the body of Jesus in the cave. There's supposed to be wood from the cross that Jesus was nailed on. So relics are a part of devotional religion. Buddhism really has relics as a real thing. Here, if people, right here where we're sitting, if I look out to my right, there's a golden structure here. Inside that's a Sharira pagoda. Inside it are the relics of the Buddha and of our teacher, Master Xuyun Lecture. So, yes, indeed, Sharira have been found among the ashes of really virtuous cultivators for 2,500 years since the Buddha's own life. Now, what's going on? It's that there are parts of the body that, when they meet the fire of a pyre, a cremation pyre, they don't decay. They don't burn away to ash. So we have found actually one of the lay women at the Berkeley Monastery was everybody's kind of favorite person to look for when you had a crisis. Why? She had a big heart. She was everybody's favorite auntie. She gave the best hugs. And if you had, grievance or trouble, if you had the blues, you go look her up, and she was the one who could always make you feel better. Very sweet lady. And she, unfortunately, died in an auto accident suddenly at a certain point. And upon cremation, there were multiple sharira found among her relics. And everybody was like, wow, why weren't we nicer to her when she was around? If we'd known that she was such a good person. So, of course, that's, exaggerated, but she was, because why? She was much appreciated while she was alive. Nonetheless, everyone was shocked to find sharira in among these aunties' ashes. She was not a monk, she was not a nun, she was just a good-hearted Buddhist laywoman, and yet she left behind these relics. So it's not, in other words, it's not entirely unheard of, and you don't have to be a saint to leave sharira behind. How interesting, right? So, of course, Master Hua left sharira behind, and when it is the case of an individual who's led a really spiritual, saintly life, you look for sharira. In the Buddha's cremation ashes were thousands of sharira. They were passed on in particular, to a virtuous Indian king whose name was King Ashoka. King Ashoka lived, 300 years after the Buddha's demise? So King Ashoka gathered up many of the Buddha's relics and distributed them throughout the world along with pillars. They're King Ashoka pillars. I didn't prepare a picture of King Ashoka pillars. I won't dig for it now, but King Ashoka's reign was particularly virtuous, and among other things, he made all of India a game preserve. He said, no killing, no taking of life in India while I'm on the throne. So, remarkable man, and his stories are profound because he had been a bloodthirsty, demonic killing machine of fearsome reputation before. And he engaged in a war that took the lives in repeated battles of tens of thousands of soldiers. And the carnage was so shocking that King Ashoka had a conversion experience. So that's more about him. We'll just leave his story there so you can, for future reference, right, for further reference. So King Ashoka turned around, his good heart emerged, and he recognized the power of goodness to leave the world a better place. In the process of this conversion, he became a profound Buddhist believer and gathered up the sharira and distributed them and erected these columns all over the known world, outside of India, indeed, to China. And column and some of the Buddhist sharira came to Ningbo, China, where they were put in a sharira container like this. This is the wooden container of the Buddha's relics in King Ashoka Temple. Just to let you see what that looks like. So thereby we got the name King Ashoka Temple, and the reason why Master Empty Cloud went there. He went there because he carried in his heart sorrow that his arrival was his mother's demise. His mother died in childbirth, and he always carried that with him as a feeling of wanting to repay her kindness, that she had to, his arrival was her end. So he came to King Ashoka Temple and bowed before the Sharira. So that's an answer to what are Sharira, relics. In Chinese is 舍利子. In English we just say relics. And they're profoundly magical. Science has a hard time justifying the centuries of of responses that have happened around Sharira. One of the things that happens is they multiply, they grow. It's like, hello, yep. If it's a genuine Sharira resulting from the cultivation of an individual, you can expect them to transform and multiply. Interesting. So here is Master Empty Cloud. We're back to our story. What does it say? It says, bai 舍利两藏. It says he bowed to the Sharira 2 treasuries. Now, 两藏, we, myself and my colleagues who help with the translation and the preparation of these manuscripts, had some new research results. Originally, we thought this meant 2 of the sutra treasuries, the Tripitaka, the canon, the Buddhist canon. We think different now. We think indeed zang here is a way of counting, that this it's like a set of bows, and it's a number of bows. One zang is said to be 5,042, maybe, but this came up only at the last minute, so we have to do more research. Originally, I had it, he bowed to the Sharira and 2 of the canon repositories, but no, we think it means he made over 10,000 bows. He bowed 10,000 times. Why? 用报父母亲老之恩，屈老之恩, to repay the kindness of his parents and their toil on his behalf. We know his story was his mother died. At this point, his father has also died. That happened a few episodes back. So we think this means he bowed 10,000 times. Now, that would be consistent with the theme of our story, right, this episode. And here's, I challenged myself at the start to say, what does bowing have to do? Why do you bow to Sharira? What's the point of that? And it's not only a Buddhist idea, it's pretty much part of almost every religion, that there is virtue and value in lowering your head. Why? Because of pride, because of arrogance. They say pride goes before a fall. If you're proud, you try to go tall and you wind up going low. So the opposite is also true. If you can, on purpose, put your head on the same level with your heart, it wipes away the arrogance that makes you feel what? Separate and isolated and lonely and broken from and needy, and all of those things that from the Buddhist point of view is what's called wrong view. What would right view be? They say that once you cultivate the self out of existence, you feel immediate connection with all things. You see what they call in Chinese 同体大悲, same body, great compassion. Great compassion is the result of transforming that view of the monad, the unit. I'm here alone, afraid, in a world I never made. You know, how come you're all outside me? Well, that's a wrong view. And what the Buddha did, if you want to put the Buddha's accomplishment in a single sentence, it's he broke through that sense of existential loneliness to find the great compassion of complete connection with all things, which is the actual way of doing things. So, the actual way of seeing. So here is Master Empty Cloud putting his head down on the ground 10,000 times a day, and he obviously moved in, right? He took up residence at King Ashoka Temple. It says, 被火师, he, contributed to the monastery to allow him to cultivate in this way. Not only that, many people have done the same. This is a sacred space, King Ashoka Temple. It's a place where people go because why? Miracles happen, responses happen when you pay attention to and address these sharira. They actually did come from the Buddha. They are the Buddha's own sharira. And so people come and they make a vow, they say, I want a son. I'm going to bow to the sharira and pray that the Buddha will be compassionate and expand my family. They come because they're going to travel. And they're going to have to leave their family behind in order for jobs. And so please keep me safe, keep my family safe while I'm away. They bow and make those things like that. So this is, the picture is of Master Empty Cloud coming to the monastery, not because he wants to get something, but because he wants to give something. He is hoping to attain wisdom and compassion because he feels bad about being the source of his mother's demise. Okay, so far so good. Now, Master Xuanhua, our teacher, Shifu Shangren, gave a 4-line poem to each one of his episodes. So here it is. Let's see what it says. 舍利真身如来存，流于斯世众妇人。不勤耕田何收获？栽培灌溉莫偷闲。Within the real body's sharira, the Tathagata abides. His relics remain in the world for people to plant blessings. If you fail to plow your own fields, how can you reap a harvest? Irrigate well, nourish, enrich. Who can waste time in leisure? Okay, so an exhortation to cultivate. Good. Story for all of you. There's a question, who drew the pictures? An artist in Hong Kong whom Master Hua commissioned. So we don't know his name. It was done back in the 50s. So, story, let's put this up again. This is let's see here. There we are. So I had long heard about the miracles at King Ashoka Temple in Ningbo, and also down the road, just not very far from King Ashoka Temple, is Tiantong Monastery, which anybody who knows anything about Japanese Zen knows about Dogen Zenji, the famous founder of it's the Cao Dongzong, shifting languages in my brain. Eiheiji is the name of the monastery where Dogen founded the Soto line in Japan, having been trained at Tiantong Monastery. So Tiantong is the Zuting, it's the ancestral monastery of the Soto school in Japan. So anyway, I'd heard about these places, having studied Japanese Zen, and oh my goodness, the chance to go in person. And I'd heard something about these Buddha Sharira at King Ashoka Temple. So this is 1990, traveling with a group of 5 monks from City of 10,000 Buddhas. We asked for an opportunity to bow to the Sharira. And because we came under the banner, you could say, of Master Mingyang Fashi from Shanghai's Longhua Si, they didn't dare say no. So they had to kind of let us in because Master Mingyang's word was gold. So the abbot who was taking us up at that time, King Ashoka Temple had not been restored. It was still pretty rough shape after the Cultural Revolution. And the abbot the abbot was not there, it was their Jianyuan, their manager, because the abbot had been called to Beijing. So the manager was a young monk, and he was very friendly to us. And so we went up the stairs to the hall where the Sharira were kept. And I asked him, I said, how did the Buddha's Sharira survive the Cultural Revolution where everything was destroyed? He said, he looked left and he looked right, and he said, well, our abbot's pretty clever. And he said, when the Red Guards were coming in the door, he went to the wall, just the plain part of the wall, it didn't look special at all, dug a hole, stuffed the Sharira in, plastered it over, and then put posters of Mao Zedong all over the wall. And nobody dared touch it. So he said, and then when the coast was clear, he said it came back out. So quick thinking on the part of the abbot. So we still have the Buddha Sharira. And so you go up to the second floor, and there is a super adorned hall. They don't let you take photos, so there's no photo of it. But this is made of wood, and it was hanging from a chain in the center of the room, kind of swinging like that. And so the manager waved us over. He said, here. He gave us all sticks of incense. We all lit a stick of incense, put it in the censer, and bowed. And he held the Sharira. You're seeing from one side. There's another side where there's a hole cut in this relic repository. And he says, okay, now kneel and look here. So each one of us, and there were 5 of us, knelt down and we looked in. And he said, now, what do you see? And he said, you yourself know. He said, you don't have to tell anyone what you see. You can wait till you leave, then you can tell us what you saw. And so one by one, the monks are like looking in this, like that, holding this thing up, trying to see what's something inside. And there was just, kind of excitement because this is very mysterious, what's going on here. And so each one had a turn, and then we bowed again and went down the stairs. And we're all like, my gosh, what was that? What was going on? And so we got in our bus and we're driving away, and so we all kind of drawn together. It was like, what did you see? What was that? And Bhikshu Heng Chao, Professor Verhoeven, said, well, he said there was this kind of a purple blob. He said it was purple, and it kind of like it wasn't, it kind of pulsed. It's weird. I said, purple? I saw white. I said, is it white? It was like kind of like a bean, white beans, like a lima bean or something. And then one of the other monks said, yes, I saw black. It was like black. And then we looked at the young monk, and what did you see? He said, I didn't see anything at all. I didn't see anything. And so every single person saw something different. Definitely, it was not like, you pays your money and you takes your choice. Hurry, step right up. It was not a sideshow. It wasn't a hoax. There was something going on there. And we read later in the historical accounts, that traditionally that's exactly the experience. Nobody sees the same thing. Some people look at the Buddha's Sharira at King Ashoka Temple, and light is emitted, bright light flashes out. Other people see nothing at all. So I saw something of white colored, and somebody saw purple, and it's like, okay, that's weird, huh? What do you make of that? Well, interesting. And to say that, diseases were cured or wishes are granted, that is a story for the future as time goes on. But clearly, King Ashoka Temple has been a place of pilgrimage. It's a sacred space. And the site itself has been there since the 3rd century, 272. The Sharira that we're looking at, the relics, are 2,500 years old from the Buddha's time to now, passed on by King Ashoka. So my take on it as somebody who is scientifically educated and is skeptical about magical claims that are unsubstantiated, my attitude is continue to learn. There's more to learn. Keep a helpful mind of positive skepticism. That is to say, judgment is not helpful at this point. To say, yes, no, I know this is true, this is not true. That's not so helpful as saying there's a lot more to learn. Definitely there's a sense of something grand here. I don't know how many other, outside of nature itself, how many other 2,500-year-old objects that have the spiritual heritage of the Buddha Sharira that there are on the planet. How many times do you encounter something that has come down with this amount of past, with this amount of roots? So that's my own experience with King Ashoka Temple, and that Master Empty Cloud clearly found his way here because he truly had something on his mind. He's been a monk for 10 years at this point? No, 12, 15 years at this point. He's now 37 years old, and his mind is not at ease yet. He's not enlightened at this point. His pilgrimage is still ahead of him. His enlightenment experience is still ahead of him. And further, even after he has this experience at the Chan session at Gaomin Monastery where he wakes up, he returns to King Ashoka Temple with more on his mind later. So there are two really important episodes in this long lifespan focused on this sacred space. All right, with that as our story, take a look. King Ashoka Temple. Here's the actual place where our hero was the pilgrim to the here's the pond right here, that the liberating light, Fang Shang Chi. The Sharira pagoda is back here. You go through here to Bao. That's where we saw them. And I remember the other thing about King Ashoka Temple is there was in 1990, there was a really, a small family-run gift shop. Some local folks had put together, some local produce that they had made, hoping that the occasional guest, in 1990 there weren't many tourists there, and they had cassia flower jam. 中文叫什么？忘了。The cassia flower came from trees that were in the neighborhood, and that jam, they offered us 2 little jars of cassia flower jam, and my tongue remembers that flavor to this day. That was one of the profound insights about King Ashoka Temple, was the flavor of that homemade jam. And the mystery that we took away. What, in fact, is going on when people bow to Sharira and miracles happen? So, there you go. That's the next story, the next episode. 桂花，对，桂花酱，没有错。Yeah, 桂花酱. That's cassia flower. Boy, was it sweet. Fragrant. So, thank you all for joining again. Another story of someone who is super significant in our ecosystem, our grand teacher, and his encounter with a Buddhist tradition that goes back 2.5 millennia, so to this very day. King Ashoka Temple now is much beautiful. Cassia, cinnamon, yeah, I don't know, Bill. 桂花, can you see the 桂花? It's this. It was cinnamony. Yeah, there was a kind of a cinnamon. Hold on. People, 桂花. See here, right there. 什么？很多？有吗？哦，这边有。We have it right here. We should definitely. Okay. Well, let's challenge our kitchen to investigate, because it was 谁会做吗? Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize that. Wow. We could have our own little gift shop here. People can have a sweet experience at Gold Coast Dharma. Okay, so the many places we can dedicate our merit and send out the goodness. So please do. Here we go. May every living being our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless life dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. And before we go, we can say goodbye to our 8 kookaburras. My goodness, kookaburra school this morning. We can make 3 half bows to the Buddhas from where you're sitting if you care to join me. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us for today. We'll see you all next week. Amito ho, everybody. Bye now.